Hey. Right, hello, welcome everybody to the latest Tech Jumpstart. And for those of you who haven't been to one of these before, I can see a lot of new faces actually. This is part of the Silicon Brighton meetup scene, and I'll tell you all about Silicon Brighton and all their meetups in a moment, or Cameron will. Tech Jumpstart is, we wanted to create a space for people who either were early stage career in tech or wanted to get into tech or tech curious, or just want to understand more about the tech industry and what the jobs, roles and careers are in it. So I'm really pleased to see so many people here today. It's great. So today is going to be a really good one. I'd like to welcome Jack, Czarina, Paul, Sara and Martin, who will introduce themselves in a moment. They all work in tech in various different roles, and this one today is going to be all around how you get either your first job or your next job, but how do you stand out to employers? So loads of really, really good advice comes out in these sessions, and you'll get a chance to talk to everyone, all the panelists. We do a really quick introduction, and then we're going to break out around tables. So when we do that breakout bit, everyone will need to we're going to break into 4 tables. So I'll need your help just to drag some tables out and sit around them and all that sort of stuff. So I'll come back in a moment, but I'll just pass you over to Cameron, who's going to tell you all about Silicon Brighton and what they do.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm from Silicon Brighton, and we are the hosts of the Brighton and Hove digital tech sector. We support a variety of different meetup groups, of which many are actually on the panel today, which I'm sure they'll be talking about shortly, maybe. Hopefully their ones are on there. Got next slide, please, Dan. Actually, I'll talk more. So we project manage and look after a lot of different events based in the digital tech sector in Brighton and Hove, such as this one this evening that we're all enjoying. And yeah, that's us. We are supported by various different companies and people that all give up either their time, their resources, or their spaces, such as Runway East, which are looking after us today. They're buying the pizza if you manage to get in early enough to grab that. So big thank you to our supporters. And a big thank you to our sponsors as well. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, next slide, please. And finally, if you want to hear anything else about Silicon Brighton, stay up to date with all of our socials or jump on our Slack channel where a lot of job opportunities are posted and just general discussions about the events that we run. So if anyone's got any ideas that they didn't get to share today, they can talk about it later on the Slack channel. And that's me done. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Cameron. So actually, just on that, if anyone hasn't logged on to the Slack channel or looked up Silicon Brighton, from my perspective, that absolutely incredible, amazing organization that does so much for the community in Brighton. All the meetups are absolutely free and accessible to everyone, like this one. They're all run by volunteers. In fact, we've got 4 of them on this panel today. So everything from JavaScript meetups to async to marketing matters to breaking breadboards and yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff that you can just drop into. So I don't know anywhere else in the country where all that's available for free and you can meet all these tech professionals. So yeah, make the most of it. Scan that or speak to Steve over there, who's the founder, one of the founders of Silicon Brighton. Right. So a little bit about myself. My name's Dan. I'm a founder of an organization called Tech Native Digital. Our whole purpose is to get people into tech careers. We do all sorts of different things, including boot camps and short courses. We work with universities, colleges, schools to help them improve their tech education. And we do meetups, a bit like this. So very pleased to be doing Tech Jumpstart. It's exactly what we want to be doing, helping you guys get into your tech careers. Also, trying to increase the amount of diversity in tech, and that's really important to us about who goes into tech, because it should be anyone who can go into tech, and we want to democratize this whole thing, and that's part of what this is all about. So just a little plug for the Tech Finishing School, which we're launching in January. It's a 4, actually no, it was a 4, we're turning it into a 12-week bootcamp now, part-time bootcamp that is designed for computer science graduates who haven't yet found their first role in tech. So helping you do exactly what we're talking about tonight, actually, just stand out to employers, have the skills that you need, and work together in teams to work on real projects, get your portfolio looking much better, sharpen your skills and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, please scan that QR code. It'll take you to our website. I'll put that back up at the end as well. So, our guests. So as I said, each one of these guys is involved in recruiting or has been involved in recruiting. So we're not going to spend long up here, but if I can just have who you are, what you do, and just what stands out to you when you're recruiting. What's your headlines that you're looking for in applicants?
Don't start with me. I've been stuck in traffic. I haven't had time to prepare and all this. Hi, I'm Martin Howe. I actually run 2 companies. One's a hardware business, one's a software business. Both involved in what we call attractions, theme parks, museums, things you do outside of home. High tech, try to be. Our kind of big flagship project a few years back was working with Disney on their Star Wars Millennium Falcon ride. We designed a lot of that over 5 years. So in our sector, we're quite well known, but we're 2 tiny businesses based in Brighton, and we bring together a lot of people on a project basis. We get people together based on their skills and experience to build quite unique hardware and software projects. What stands out? It's a good question. In many ways, it is that first few minutes, that first sort of engagement. Do I feel I can work with this person? Do I feel this person can work well in our team? How good they are at doing the job, time will tell quite quickly. We do find out quite quickly, but it's very hard to interview and get all those questions to a point where we're clear and comfortable, because what we do is quite unusual. We kind of build worlds first, so it's very hard to understand if somebody's done those kind of things before. So we do a best guess, but it really is those first early stages of the conversation. Say, do I feel comfortable in this environment with this person? Do I think this person can work in the kind of place we do and the places we do at the pace we do? So it's about fit, and that first few moments are quite important.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Sara. I'm talent manager at Tillo. We're a fintech scale-up based in Howe. We work in the world of digital gift cards, which is very exciting. I work in the talent team. I recruit across the business, but specifically in our tech team, which is about 45 people and scaling. I think that what stands out to me, especially when hiring juniors, which we've had a few junior roles in the past couple of years that I've been at Tillo, is being specific. We get huge amounts of applications for junior roles, and I know it's so difficult and you might be applying to hundreds, but if you can take the time to actually be a bit more specific on your application to show why that role is interesting to you. There's so many CVs, and we'll go into it in more detail in the roundtables, but so many CVs that just plastered with every single language and tech stack that you've ever seen. I know that you don't have experience in all of that, so be specific and tell me what you do actually have experience in, and why you'd like to work at Tillo or wherever it is that you're applying to.
Hi, I'm Paul. I work for a company called Automattic, which is probably best known for things WordPress. It's like the commercial arm of WordPress. We run WordPress.com. And a few other software products related to that, like WooCommerce and Jetpack and stuff. But we also have Tumblr, Pocket Casts, Day One, the journaling app, a few other things. Yeah, I've worked there for a while. I run a small team now, and I used to work more closely with hiring, primarily in the interview stage, which was all done over Slack, which isn't done in quite the same way anymore. But it was very interesting. Like, some people would come to the interview just like completely unprepared, and I had somebody who was dictating it all to Siri while he was driving his car, doing the interview, which was pretty crazy. So don't do things like that. We've got a creed, which is a bit like the company values, and it starts off with, I will never stop learning. It's also got things in there about knowing that communication in a remote organization like ours is like the oxygen of the company. So I think they are the things that we would be looking for, like in an application, that you're kind of demonstrating that you could kind of sort of live to those values when you join the company.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Czarina Barnsby. I'm a Women in Techmaker ambassador with Google. I'm also an AWS community builder. I run the Brighton Cloud group inside Silicon Brighton, so hopefully see some of you there. In addition, I'm also a BCS fellow with the Chartered Institute for IT. Day job, I'm head of technical architecture at technology consultancy. The question was about what stands out on an app for an individual applying. I guess for me, it's passion, and whether it's passion about technology or passion about continuous development and learning, or passion for joining the company that you're looking at. All those different things stand out to me as a hiring manager for an applicant. Events like this, being able to talk about the fact that you are part of a community shows your passion for technology, and getting involved in things like personal projects and stuff like that shows the fact that you're passionate about entering into the tech industry or career switching or anything like that. Thank you.
I get the pleasure of going last, which means I can scrape all of their great ideas. So I'm Tracey. I'm a senior cloud solutions architect at Microsoft. I've been there about 4.5 years. Before that, I spent all of my time in the Microsoft partner space and running my user group, which was a big part of me getting my job. So that's probably one of my top tips, is get involved in communities and don't just attend. We're always all looking for people to help out and help run these things. And that's an amazing thing to show the passion and the drive and specificity of, like, you want to get into these tech roles, like you're showing how you're being applying those skills. Microsoft have very similar things to the Creed. We have our culture and our values, and we have a hire in policy. So we're basically always looking to include people and make sure we can hire them in rather than exclude them out. So it's quite hard to get a Microsoft interview wrong from a first impressions perspective, because we're all told that, hey, give them time, make them feel comfortable, get them into the room, make them open up and talk. But I think, taking those values on further, it's learn it all, don't know it all, be specific in what you do know, be T-shaped is a good thing. So don't try and be something to everybody, but having a knowledge of the entire stack or arena that you're playing in, but being really deep in certain areas is a super valid skill, because you don't have to know it all. You just have to know the bits you do know really well. And then if you can communicate and you can talk to others and you can be in a team, you can gel, and you'll find that somebody else knows the back end if you know the front end, or somebody else knows integration really well if you don't know that. But try not to, it's really easy. I think, as Sara said, that you can try and just have everything listed on your CV and something about everything. Try to avoid that as much as possible, and try and know what you're truly passionate about to stand out and be different in the market. Over to you, Dan.
Great, some really, really good advice there. And there's a common theme around sort of engaging with the company that you're applying to and showing that you understand the company, their values, you've researched them, and that you're going to be a good colleague. And I think that's come out loads in conversations that we've had. I know a big problem that a lot of people have when applying is they just don't get shortlisted, and so they don't get the chance to even have that conversation. When you've got a pile of applications and CVs, how do you differentiate between all these applications, and do you do a bit of research? Do you look at their LinkedIn posts and see who they are? When there's a tiebreaker, you're thinking, no, I'm not sure. What makes that piece of paper, well, that application sort of jump to you before you've even met them? You don't know who they are.
Yeah, so I'll go first if you don't mind. But from a tech perspective, like, I'm not involved in the early stages, right? So when a CV's got to me, it's had a first pass of like filtering, and the recruiters are just looking at the basic things, like, have they got certifications in the relevant areas? Have they got the right things listed on their CV or their LinkedIn profile? But when I get it, I go digging deeper than that. So I will put your name into Google. I will see what's out there. And for my roles, I'm looking like, what's your GitHub profile say? Is it up to date? Does it show active contributions to other projects? Are you involved in the open source community? And are you chatting about those things on places like LinkedIn? Like, are you engaging in communities? Like, are you attending events like this and saying, hey, I went to this amazing event isn't, you should come and join us. We learn about this. Like, I want to see that you're keen for it. So yeah, I don't actually ever read a client CV until probably the interview stage or the day before, because that's not what I care about. Anybody can put one of those together. I want to know who you really are. And social for me is, and your GitHub profile. Like, GitHub is big for me in my world. So make sure it's showing the right things. Anybody else?
So yeah, I'm the recruiter that's doing that work before the CVs get to you. So hopefully you're getting the good quality. And to give you an example of a role that we've hired recently, we had a junior front end engineer position, and we had over 200 applications in 3 days, I think. So we had to close the role. So firstly, you've got to be on it. You've got to get those alerts on LinkedIn so that as soon as the role is coming. But what I do to filter it down, and it is really difficult because it's so many applications and we've only got one role, is again looking at the specifics. Does this person actually want to work at Tillo, or do they just want a job? And something that I really love to look at is similar. Obviously, I don't go as deep diving into GitHub because I'm just not as technical, but I love hearing about people's personal projects. So if they can include that in their CV or in a cover letter, it just shows so much of your personality and that passion, again, that you really are interested in what you're doing. And especially as a junior, you might not have that work experience, but you can get experience outside of working, and you can talk about things that you're passionate about, and you can share that, and that really stands out for me. Anyone else?
Yeah, that open source side of things, I think, is really key for us. Like, WordPress is a big open source project, so you can get involved in things like that in small ways as well. You don't have to be doing coding. You can do some documentation. People translate it. It just shows passion and an interest. You get people applying because they know it's WordPress. They'll say how passionate they are about blogging, but then we can't find their blog. There's a certain amount of sort of branding, I think, that you can do there, and make sure that, if you can do a bit of work up front and, sort of contribute to things and stuff like that. And then you're ready to be able to, sort of market yourself to companies when the roles come up, basically.
So just echoing a little bit about everyone's talking about personal projects and things like that. There's one thing doing them, but also there's another thing about showcasing them and having them readily available. So if you've done a degree or you've done a personal project or anything like that, it's putting it online, seeing whether or not you can do a blog post about it. Even if doing a little video, you don't have to appear in the video. You can get text just to appear up, but be able to talk about exactly what you did, appreciating that project could have been 2 years ago. But if you put something on a CV, I will look into it and I will quiz you about it. So just make sure that all the things that you've done, you've got it ready to hand. You've got really great things. You were talking a little bit about LinkedIn. You've got personal projects that you can put and upload inside there. You can put in articles that you've created. There's so many mechanisms, and it's just really amplifying that inside your CV.
Yeah, I think being specific and having good social presence. To give you a story, when I joined Microsoft, they asked me a very specific question about subscription migrations. And the guy sitting behind the laptop you could see he was reading from almost a tick sheet of things. What he was reading was my blog post that I posted about the article. And then he suddenly clocks up and he's like, hang on, you Jack Tracey? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'll stop asking you questions about this then, shall I? Because we will follow your guidance internally because our documentation isn't very good, right? So finding those niche gaps, stand out. I hate going on, everybody's leaving X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, right? And everybody's going to Blue Sky. That's the current fad this last couple of weeks, right? So I already am starting to see the same people repost the same things, and it's almost like the bots are back, but people are just reposting the same articles and articles and articles. I'm looking for the person that's not reposting stuff and the person that's got an opinion about something that's out there, rather than the person who's just sending the same message. So find your niche and be proud of it and message it well.
Thank you. So yeah, loads of, again, really, really valuable information for you guys, and you're going to get to chat to everyone here in a moment when we break out. Just one more question. Not everyone gets a job through an application. Sometimes happenstances happen. Can you give me one example of when you've recruited someone in an odd, different way, not through a job application? You met someone, you did it just to kind of get everyone think about how different ways, you can get a job.
Yeah, just to echo what's been said, that thing about really standing out and being you, there's so many choices, it seems. So for us to know who you are, that's what we're trying to get to. So that idea of being T-shaped, what is it about you? What one thing? That's what we need to find, the fit. I come to these events and network in these events to find you, actually. There's a current example. We're actually talking to somebody who I met at an event, and we're meeting tomorrow to see if there's a fit already. And there's no CVs, there's no interviews. It's just a friendly conversation and an idea. Well, actually, yeah, let's meet up and see if it works out. I'm a big believer in that, actually, face to face. So what you're doing here is a great example of being out and about, meeting people who may lead you to your next career step. So keep doing this, definitely.
So I was thinking of an example, and I've got one. It's slightly adjacent to tech, but we had a junior product manager role go out about a year ago, and we got inundated. We had so many applications, so many people interested in getting into product. It's really, a big area to get into. And we were narrowing down CVs, and we had, it was really difficult to find, because everybody's applications were really good. It was really difficult. We had someone show up at our office with a box of chocolates with my name on them. And I'm not saying I was biased, but the fact that she turned up at our office, it wasn't about the chocolates. She turned up at our office. She was being creative, thinking outside the box. That's exactly what we wanted in a product manager. She took the initiative to come and speak to us and to show her face that she was a real person. So she got the job. She's actually just gone off on maternity leave, but yeah, she got the job and is doing fantastically. So yeah, I think that's a great example.
Referrals. You were talking about how roles could close early just because you're inundated with applications. I was referral into the company that I work for now, and numerous people refer other people. You're actually incentivized as an employee to refer people that you know monetarily. So the great thing about these events is connecting with each and every person in. I'm sure you probably all know the LinkedIn QR codes. I would get on that because it only takes one person to get a role for them to reach out and find and get to know other people who can then look at referring on. I think people underestimate the power of connecting and getting to know people and making those meaningful connections. And obviously when you do connect with people, it's having the set etiquette. So for example, I'm not sure if anyone else on the panel gets it, but sometimes you go to an event, you strike a really great conversation, you connect on LinkedIn, and the first thing you get asked is, can I have a job? And you're like, now's not the right time or place. A little bit of etiquette. Let me get to know you from that aspect. But the great thing about this event and things like that is that it just takes one. And if that's a company that's hiring for entry level or people moving into one industry, then they know what they're going to get. And people want to refer people they know because it's all about, getting the right candidates through the door.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about that with the referrals, is that actually most of the jobs that I've got haven't, the application hasn't been the first stage. Like, so the job that I've got at the moment is because I used to run the WordPress meetup. Well, I still do, actually. We've started it back up. And somebody came to it, Tammy, worked at Automattic, and I used to quiz her a lot about, what it's like to work there and everything else. And then she ended up referring me, when I decided to apply. So actually, my sort of application process started about 2 years before I put an application in. I think the application is a point, sort of midway along your journey to getting a job in a place almost. So.
I'll take just +1 for referrals. My co-host of the Sussex Azure user group referred me into Microsoft. So it's just building a network and knowing people who you'll share a passion with, and meaningful conversation and meaningful connection. That is such a key thing to take away. Because it really does play out. Like mine probably started 6 years before I even got my job at Microsoft, but it was just easy. It was like, hey, I've seen this. Do you mind? And he's like, yeah, of course, done. That's it. And that gets you generally a little bit higher up your list.
Turn up with chocolates.
Yes.
Such good advice. I mean, there's a real common thread in there about forming meaningful connections, showing that you care, taking the time to research. I've also recruited many people in my life through, I lead a college, for many years I led a college and recruited numerous staff. And just from my perspective, just reading the job description is like stage one. So many people apply for jobs. You just think you haven't actually read the job description. It's maddening. So yeah, stage one, read the job description. Stage two, all the other good stuff, and show real engagement with the company and the people is such good advice. Now you're going to get a chance to have really good engagement now because we're going to split out into tables, and we're going to have 10 minutes each on the table. I've got some questions. So you can tell I run a college because what I'm going to give you is a bit of paper and some pens. And I've got 4 questions. And for those who haven't been here before, you get 10 minutes in each question. You can do them in whatever order you want. Our guests are going to swap around every 10 minutes to a different table. So when you've written them all down at the end, you have like, what I want is a paper full of scribbles, full of ideas, things you're going to do. And then I want you to take pictures of them, take them home. And that's your personal action plan for
post them on
today
social media
and for your career.
Post them on social media,
And
like network.
They can post on social media, and
Exactly.
I'll post them out on the group as well. Yes, absolutely, post them on social media. And this is a really good opportunity for you to focus and just use this as a personal workshop to look at how you're going to go out there tomorrow and do things differently and get yourself that job. So this is the bit where it all sort of breaks down into slight chaos. So what I'd like you to do, there's 3 tables over here. We've got Mika and Lara, hello, who are helpers, assistants, volunteers for the day as well. Wrong word. Never mind. It's all right. So if everyone can get up, you might need to take your chair with you. If we can all just magically appear around 4 tables. One other thing, that table, there's 2 tables over there. That one is going to be broadcast. Right, that's going to be on the live webcast. So if you don't want to be on the webcast, don't sit on that one. But if you don't mind, please do sit on that one. Right, 5 minutes, go.
So it's like the cuddly bear. You can only speak one at a time.
Oh, they're speaking?
They're speaking.
Oh, dear.
This is a podcast. So how if you guys cover your conversation, like with mics, that would be great. That's good.
Sure.
Yeah,
What are we exactly going to do? I feel like I missed that. Is there further instruction to come?
you time would get the question model and make like search each one. Dad, then what drinks? Yeah. For each one, mind map. I can try that.
Sure. Does anyone have neat handwriting?
Being my college, lots and loads. Yeah. Need that extra confidence boost sitting in front of the camera. One over my shoulder.
It wasn't too bad in the camera. It's when they handed us the mic.
Yep. Right. Is everyone in their groups? Right. So the 4 questions, you might need another page. I'll find you something. The 4 questions that I want you to answer with, has everyone got a panelist with them? Panelists? There should be 4 tables. There's 5 panelists. That definitely means there's one per table at least. Oh, mine. Right. Take a table. Take a table. Who hasn't got a panelist? Over there. Over there. There you go. I told you it would work itself out. So, question 1. How do I make myself more visible to employers? So, showcase your skills, projects, social media, blogging. Question 2. What projects or initiatives should I take on to stand out? So, we're thinking about what personal projects can you do? Open source projects. How does my GitHub or portfolio set me apart? Can I volunteer at Silicon Brighton, for instance? What skills should I develop to be work ready? So this is thinking about what skills you have now, what skills employers are looking for. We didn't really talk about that in the panel, actually. So technical or soft skills, often soft skills is what employers are saying to me they're looking for. So have a conversation about that around the table. What are the most important soft skills? And lastly, how do I present myself confidently? So what's your elevator pitch? What are you all about? What do you believe in? What's your creed? And how does it match their creed? So might as well start number 1, but as long as you do all 4 in the next 40 minutes, that's fine. So you got 10 minutes to take a question and work yourself through the questions. Every 10 minutes, my panelists are going to get up and move around, but you're going to stay where you are. Does that make sense? Okay, so 10 minutes, have a chat. Might as well start at the top. How can I make myself more visible to employers? Go.
Match of the day, but worse. I'm on. I'm live. Oh, good. I can't hear myself, so it's freaking me out. Yeah, good. Yeah, let's go around. Yeah, let's go around. So, like, how, or maybe start with one. One's always a good place to start. How would you maybe flip it on its head? How are you currently making yourselves visible to employers? Yeah, but how are you currently doing that today? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say maybe part-time because you're going to have a lot of commitments, obviously, with your course. But from my perspective, contributing to open source or getting involved in a passion project that you really enjoy alongside is never going to hurt you.
No.
And being working your way up to being something like a maintainer on a project or something like that, I would big kudos to you if you've got a maintainer status on a project.
Okay.
Something well known, like you think about Kubernetes or I don't know, any language pretty much open source these days, Go, Python, R, whatever. Like if you can become a maintainer or somebody that's known in that community, that's going to stand out to me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't actually go to uni. So there you go, fun fact. So I just got a job and went through the tech career and did tech certs and worked my way through.
So how did you get that first job?
Applied a lot, but I did things. So I was the kid at school who helped the IT technicians and did stuff like that. And then I went and got like a help desk job.
Okay.
Super low paying, not a lot of money, but tiny company. There were 3 of us, right? But learned everything I needed and still friends with most of the people that I left there with. None of us were there anymore, but that's the way I did. But it was, just showing ingenuity. Like which 17-year-old is applying for a job? I hadn't even finished college. I was like, I don't even want to finish college. Like, I want to get straight in and learn. Like, that was my USP, right? Which 17-year-old is going to be applying for a job on a help desk? Like, they look at me like, you sure? And yeah, it paid off for them and paid off for me. So, but yeah, go for it.
Do you think, in your opinion, is it better to earn skills through education or through work experience? Because I'm more considerate towards finding experience and learning more about programming and networking through work over education. And do you think that's more important or more beneficial than going through university and going through specific courses to learn?
You go to uni?
Cool. I've definitely got an answer.
Well, when I went to uni, I wasn't really sure whether it was worth it or not. But it did teach me a certain amount about like how to learn. It's like, which I think is really important. Like, so, and then there's all of the stuff about, you know, sort of moving away from home and, you know, all that kind of other stuff that you get from university. There was also, I mean, it's a little bit like, you know, some people talk about learning Latin is really good for like helping with your English skills and things like that. Like, you know, and there was a certain amount at university where there was some real fundamentals in like sort of data structures, some stuff that I hardly ever get to touch on in my day-to-day work that was just really interesting, all about compiler design and stuff like that. Like, you know, so it was good and beneficial. But like, so that mixed with work experience.
So a bit of both.
Yeah, I think was really good. Like, I mean, I can't say what it would have been like if I'd just done a job because I went to university, like, you know, sort of, but I do think it kind of sort of set me up in a certain way, like, you know, so, but yeah, pure academia, the people that had stayed in academia and all that sort of thing, like, I'm not sure that they would have been that useful, like, to come and work at Automattic because they were very niche, you know, writing research papers in, you know, some compiler optimization and things like that, like, you know, so, but you know, yeah, getting a degree and stuff like that.
So on a CV, would you look specifically for like niche courses that people have done? Was that stand out to you, or would that sort of blend in?
Yeah, good question. Not necessarily. I suppose. I think, you know, if there's like a final project or something like that, I think that would probably get looked at and maybe asked about, like, you know, sort of an entry level job, like, so, you know, and that you've got some sort of passion in that, like, you know, it's like,
I think that's
you know, that
important,
you've kind of taken something on, like, you know, it's like,
like, sorry, I didn't catch anybody's name. We're terrible at this, but I'm Jack. This is Paul. But like what you were saying, like getting involved in open source makes yourself visible. If you combine two of those things, like your final project was on, I don't know, AI and financial services and its regulatory aspects and ethics. If you then combine that with, I contributed to loads of open source during this, and I still am. We're now seeing like, okay, you're not just a person who's doing niche points. You actually care. You actually have got a passion about this, and you're building that network and community across it. So don't just do it for the sake of trying to get a job, I think, because you'll very quickly get into, I hate what I'm doing. Like, it's true. Like, I do what I do, but you could pay me half the salary and I still do what I do. Like, I absolutely love what I do. Like, it's what I go home and, like, at the weekends, I do what I do for a day job because I don't feel like it's work. Like, it's what I enjoy. It's passion. So that's the key mix to find. To answer your question about university or experience, depends on who you are as a person. Like, I'm super dyslexic. Like, I can't do numbers and algebra, and I really struggle with programming, like the base stuff, like foundational stuff. But I understand data structures, and I can build you out relational database models and all that stuff. I can do that because I've done it hands-on. But when somebody sits there with a book or a lecture, I'm like, I'm lost. Like, I've got a guy on my team who can go at me and pointers and references, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're on about. Show me in code, got what you're on about. Because I've been there, I've done it, I'm hands-on with it. Do a mixture of both. Like, for me, not going to university and working through, one of my life goals before I actually retire is to do a degree, because I missed not getting one. Like, I don't have the foundational knowledge that others do. And I speak to some people who understand C at the root level, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're on about. You're very smart, but they have no idea of some of the other stuff that I know because I've taken a different path. But together we work really well. So yeah, I would say I would do uni, maybe not at the start of my time, but I definitely want to do a degree before I finish my time in tech. So
awesome.
Stick with it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've got a quick question. Would you consider somebody more if they've just finished uni or just finished an apprenticeship?
I think that's going to, for me, that's not about having bias, because the apprenticeship route for me is like, that's the way I would have come. So I'd be very pro that. But now myself, I'd be very bias aware that I can't be like that.
Okay.
I need to treat them both equally. And to be fair, I don't actually care. Like, I'm looking at the other things that we were talking about, right? I'm not, if somebody says like, oh, I've got a degree in this, like, it glaze over, right? I literally am not looking at that stuff. Can we connect? Can we have a conversation? And now can we dig into your LinkedIn profile, your personal projects. Like, what are you proud of to shout enough about that you want to get noticed about? That's what I'm looking for. I'm not really looking at what's written down on a CV, especially now in the age of AI, right? Anybody can ask a Word document to generate my CV for me. I'll probably do a better job than mine is at the moment. So I'm looking for experience. I'm looking for what have you actually done? What are you actually contributing to? That's the difference. So I don't think it would matter if you've been an apprentice or you've come from uni.
So
See
you
both.
wouldn't like think of one or the other higher than the other. So the same.
Both have the opportunity to show experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So the key is on you,
Yeah.
because whether you're at university or whether you're an apprentice, weekends and evenings still exist. So how you choose to spend them is the key.
Okay.
Like if you choose to be out and never investing in a passion, the thing you truly want to like spend the rest of your life working on, and you want to go out and you want to do all those things, like cool, like that's fine. But if you're willing to spend a couple of days or a couple of hours every week investing in a side hustle, that shows, because you'll want to talk about it and you'll want to shout about it, and I'll spot it and I'll be like, that's cool. I want to learn more about that. I'm not actually bothered about the skills, because the fact you've built that shows that you've got the skills. So that's where I would say, right, get involved in the side hustle. Like a project that you're passionate about that you want to build. Could even be like something random, like you want to build like an AI model to predict the best fantasy Premier League team every year. If that's your thing and you absolutely love it, fucking go for it. Like, why wouldn't you go for that? Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Thank you.
That's quite a lot about how you learn, isn't it? Like I think uni or apprenticeship or something else is about how you learn, and it's like it's the outcome of that that's much more important, isn't it? Like, you know, if you're somebody that learns a lot better by reading books and getting lectured at or something like that, then university is going to work much better for you than than practical hands-on stuff, like, you know, and vice versa. So it's about what comes out the other end of the, you know, sausage factory, right? Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
I've tried contributing to open source, and I've like every time. Well, I've tried a couple times, and then I start, and then something happens, and then I just stop, and I just don't come back to it until like a while. And I was just like wondering if you have any like tips for like how to contribute to open source, or like any like projects you recommend to contribute to for like beginners.
Yeah, do WordPress. Like, no. I don't know. You need to. I think like anything else, it needs to be a project that you're passionate about. Like, so if you're using it, like, then you're much more likely to find a bug or
volume.
something that is
Right, 1 minute, and then my panelists are going to swap around. So finish off your conversations. 1 minute.
What? Sorry, say that again.
So I should contribute to something I'm interested in.
Definitely, yeah, because then, like, if you're using it, like, say, a friend of mine contributed a fix to something in Audacity because they were doing like a lot of recording in it and stuff. Like, you know, it's like, so, you know, you're much more likely to find, and then you'll find a little thing that you can fix or do, or, you know, write a blog post, a tutorial about how to, you know, use it or something like that. Like, you know, and like you're kind of getting that way, I would have thought. That is like, yeah.
The biggest misconception about contributing to open source, I bet you all think it's about writing code and putting it back in a repo, right? Nah. Creating issues, replying to issues, adding your input to existing issues. Like, oh yeah, that's similar to.
Right, this is always the hardest bit, but we're going to need to move you around now. Really sorry to interrupt. You're going to have another great conversation in a minute. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. Right, can my panelists please stand up? And everyone move round, one to your right, please. So you guys over where Martin was. No, to your right. Sara, this way. Sorry, clockwise. Yeah, to the left, to your left. I thought she was facing this way. Everyone's got one. Right, good. Right, 10 minutes. Go for it. That's come on the web, on the online audience.
Yeah, about 2 minutes each. I mean, we go around the room, we ask.
Yeah.
Oh, have we got
Okay.
2 sides? We didn't do very good on the first.
Okay, I'm going to try really hard. We've got a question from
Okay.
online.
Sounds good.
Cool. The question is, how important are portfolio websites and/or code repos/demos for job applications? So, God, this is so intense. In my opinion, and I'm non-technical where I'm interviewing, so I'm the first stage, so I'm not necessarily as much looking into it. But it is super important. You're going to be, if you get through the first stage, you're going to be going through to technical interviews. You want to be able to show what you've done and make it easy, I think, is the main thing that I want to put across. The amount of times that I've had like a CV with a link to their GitHub or whatever it might be, and the link doesn't work, or there's nothing in there. What's the point? Make it easy. Make it, if you're going up against, oh my God, if you're going up against like 200 other people, you want to make it super easy. Make sure you can stand out, that if they spend 30 seconds on your application, they can really quickly go and have a look at all the different links and find everything. Okay, right. Okay, I am worried about them. Okay, cool.
When you're looking at someone's project, like what in the projects are you like specifically looking for? Like what sort of things do you want to see in a project that would like make you interested more in that candidate?
Yeah, I think for me, and again, coming from the non-technical perspective, is that passion. So the ones that I remember, kind of thinking of examples are when people kind of got lost in what they were talking about because they're just so passionate about it that it might be the topic, it might be the tech that they're talking about, or it might be the thing that they made, maybe with something to do with, we had someone who I interviewed who really loved the NFL in the US, basketball, something like that. And he was just so passionate about it that he made this application because he was out of work and that was something that he wanted to do. And to the fact that he was just so interested in it, that really shone through. So it wasn't necessarily about how he'd done it. Obviously, you do get to that in the later stages of interviews. But for me, it was just really nice to see that he just loved what he was doing and he was someone that we wanted to work with.
So like the project itself isn't necessarily what you're interested in. It's just like that the person's passionate about.
Yeah, and so I think don't do a project because you think an employer might be interested in that. Do a project because you want to do it and because you're interested in it, because that really comes through if it's genuine.
Got you. Oh, thank you.
It's just off the back of that question, if that's okay. Yeah, I guess just because it's related to that there. So like I'll use an example. I applied for a job recently. I used half of their stack before. I had experience with it. It was at a company that I was genuinely interested in what they were doing. I customized my, cover letter. I did everything that you're supposed to do it, and almost instantly got a rejection from it. How, I guess, like before you even get to that stage of showing that you are passionate about it, how can you, I guess, try and get that opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you did everything right, and I think it's really hard for me to know in that situation what it might have been. But so what I would say in that situation is follow up with the person. Don't be afraid to follow up with, if you get the name in the email or if it's an email you can respond to, follow up, ask for feedback, say, I appreciate there might be a lot of applications, but I want to know what is it that I could improve on if there is anything. Because sometimes it might be that there was just so many applicants that actually they were being really, really specific and niche. But the fact that you followed up with, okay, let me just have another look at their application and think, what was it? And they might think, oh, actually, it's pretty good. So you might be able to get in that way. So don't be afraid to follow up with the recruiter or with the hiring manager, just anyone you can find in the team. Use LinkedIn again in that way to find out who is on the hiring team if you can. And yeah, follow up.
That's what I did. Unfortunately, Luke's locked behind LinkedIn Premium. Gets us every time.
Yeah.
I've actually got someone from my bootcamp alumni who works there, so I'm going through that.
Okay, you've tried all the avenues. Good. Good.
Hello, Sara. Especially for the product roles, at the first stage of the interviews, how technical the explanation of the background information of the product manager do you expect?
Yeah.
Do you expect like lots of details in
That's
terms
a really
of
good
tools?
question. It depends on the company, so I can only speak for Tillo and for how we recruit. But the first stage is very conversational, and I always outline that interview as that this is going to be a conversation. I'm not probing you technically because I don't know how to do that. So I want you to be able to explain to me it's really telling of how well you'll be able to communicate with other non-technical stakeholders in the business. I think sometimes I've had cases with kind of engineers that feels almost like they can't be bothered to explain something to me because I won't understand it, or they can't be bothered for that part of the conversation because I'm not technical, so they're not interested. And that's so telling, because in any kind of technical role, you're going to have to communicate with non-technical people. That is how you're going to progress. That's how you're going to get in. You need to be able to speak to me in a non-technical way, explaining, yes, technical concepts, but showing that you're able to communicate it in a simple way. So it's not to kind of dumb down the work that you've done, but it's just to be able to communicate it in terms that make sense. I do often see as well with juniors that they super go over technical because they want to sound like I know what I'm talking about, and that's great, you might, but you have to translate it so that anyone can understand it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the other question is, I know you are having many interviews. For the Tillo, we had an interview 2 weeks ago, I guess. If you remember it, can I get individual feedback later?
Which role was it for?
For product manager for storefront.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you remember like any sort of thing, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's catch up. Let's catch up.
Okay, thank you.
Slightly off piece, but so when you get 200 CVs in for one job, do you use software to narrow those down?
Yeah, it's something that is a bit of a controversial topic, but in a way, yes, but not in the way that you might think. So I see a lot of things on LinkedIn and wherever about beating the ATS and getting through it and getting past the robot. I don't know what robot people think is doing my job, but it's not. It's actually me. The only times where that might happen is if you're answering questions. So if you've got a bunch of yes/no questions on an application form, like can you work from the office 3 days a week? If you say no, yes, you're going to get automatically rejected because we need you to work from the office, or maybe it's right to work, or maybe it's do you have experience with this technology? If you say no, yes, you might get automatically rejected. But if it's not that, no, it's a person looking at the CV and in my case anyway. I don't know anyone that has CV screening software.
Yeah,
it does exist, but it's not very good, so people don't rely on it because it doesn't work. So,
yeah. Okay.
Am I good? Right, 1 minute, and then we're going to move around. Start wrapping up your conversations, please.
Okay, so in your personal opinion, because I'm sure it changes depending on who, but is there like a scale for passion over experience or experience over passion? So at a point, do you almost consider somebody's passion to learn over somebody who might be more experienced?
Yeah, for a junior role, for sure. That is the main thing that we're looking for. Obviously, the sliding scale is kind of the level of the role. So for a more experienced candidate, we still want that passion, of course, but the experience is super important. Whereas for a junior role, something that I see as my job is really pushing back at hiring managers. If they're saying, yeah, we want a junior, but I want 2 years of experience in this. No, you don't. That's not a junior. If we're hiring a junior, it is all about that passion. Yes, you need to have some understanding of the technical concepts that we're bringing you in to do, but you need to be so willing to learn. Like that's what we want, is someone really just like curious and really engaged and really passionate. They don't need to have all the skills. It's a junior role, so they shouldn't have to. But that's different everywhere.
Yeah. Do you find it easy to tell the difference between someone who's looking for a job because they know how to do it and they want the money, or somebody who's genuinely interested in learning and understanding more?
In some cases.
Right. We've had our 10 minutes. How are we all getting on with the questions? How can I make myself more visible? How can I stand out? What skills do I need to be work ready? How do I present myself? Make sure you're answering all these questions. Right, can I have my panelists, please? All stand up, and clockwise is the way this time. So, Sara, you're going to go over to where Paul and sorry, Jack. Yeah, no, they have to follow a system, otherwise it goes wrong, and you get someone.
Hello.
How am I? Guys table. Hi, guys.
Welcome.
So, what question are we dealing with? Yep. Okay. First thoughts? Okay. I'll have some, but go on. First thoughts.
Does anyone want to go first?
Can I throw some suggestions.
Yeah,
out
go
you
go
might-
for it.
And I'll repeat what I've been saying, and it kind of covers this, but it's a bit broader. I think it really is about understanding you first and foremost. What is it that makes me me from a personal point of view? You, the human, what are your characteristics? Surely you should know you best. So get that out. Don't be shy. Just say, what am I good at? How do I work best? And then that whole T-shaped thing. What are you really good at? What skills do you have? And I talk about the kind of Lego brick thing. So we're looking for the Lego employers, looking for the Lego brick that fits into their model. They've got all this stuff. They're looking for a missing piece. You can identify what kind of piece you are. Only you can describe your piece. I'm flat with 6 blocks on it and I'm red, right? That's me. The employer is going to decide whether that's going to fit in their model. What they don't want is a whole bunch of Legos saying, I can't work out. I don't understand this well enough to know if it plugs in. So it's identifying and clearly identifying what you are and what your skills are, and then the employer can decide how you fit. I was saying earlier that, so I'm doing this all the time. I'm selling and marketing my company, and I'm talking to customers. Like for me, you're all customers. I'm thinking, okay, how do I convince that client that I've got the right product? The first thing I have to say is what are we? How do we work? How do we work? What's our culture? And what's our product? What are we offering? That's the same thing, but the product is you, the person. So I think really focus on that. So what skill should I be? What skill should I develop? Self-awareness, clarity of what you are, what you can do, and summarizing that and kind of banging it out. It's that elevator pitch. This is me, this is what I do. This is how I work. This is what I'm good at. Just really work on that. And don't try and second guess it too much. Say, this is it. And I'm going to put this Lego piece out in the market and someone's going to pick it up because it fits. I think that's probably a good first step. So the skill is understand yourself, one, and work out how to explain it simply. How can I prove I'm ready for the workplace? I think this whole thing. So have you all been in the workplace yet?
Yeah, but different.
Little
Some
bit.
of us are students and some of us have been in the workplace before, I believe.
Yeah. So it's an exciting journey. And you're all going to find work. You'll all get there, and you'll be on a career. That will happen. It's just a case of where and when, right? So you just have to keep turning that handle until it lands. Proving you're ready. I think this whole. I'm a big fan of the Silicon Brighton network because it gives everybody access to everybody all the time. So you could just rock up and be sitting next to someone who's probably looking for someone to work with. So the skill is get out there, talk to people, and again, try and summarize who you are and what you're good at. I think that would be the kind of main thing I keep coming back to. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Talking about skills, do you believe that the skills you learn at university are better than the skills that you'll be learning in an apprenticeship?
Oh, that's a good question. I got really mixed. I started a long time ago, young, and I did an apprenticeship. I didn't come from an environment where university was a thing. A friend of mine from the same school went to university. 8 years later, we both ended up at the same job, but I was his boss. Right? Now that doesn't actually mean anything. It just means that every path works. I think every path is valid. It's about, and we've got kids, some about your age, and I always say to them, it's the second job that matters. It's the second job that matters. So it kind of takes the pressure off the first job a bit, right? You just get in a job, get working, learn how it all works. But your route there, I think there's many, especially nowadays, there's many routes to getting an income and getting a career. Many routes, including doing it yourself. Start my own business. Why not? If no one's going to employ me, I'll employ myself. Yeah.
Do you ever hire international people for your team?
Yeah.
And what sort of skills do you expect them to show as a foreigner? And
yeah, good question.
Do you think that there are like different skills that they need to learn before getting in the job market here in
Yeah,
the UK?
good question. No, I have many times employed international people because they come from different backgrounds. It's very in our world in particular. It's actually very important that we have international skills from different cultures and different working processes, different ways of life. So I think that is an asset. It's the Lego brick thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it relates to I know this culture. I come from this environment. We're doing some work in Saudi at the moment. It's going to be extremely important for us to broaden our mix of skills and cultural experience more towards Arabic cultures, of course, right? So there will be a time where you'll be the perfect fit, the only fit. Where are you from?
From Turkey, Istanbul.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like 5 years experience just completely ignored by the employers, but it's not the truth. I don't want to generalize it. It could be like taking a risk hiring an international, but at the same time, as a drawbacks, there are some potential of the richness.
It's the Lego brick. No, you're the only, maybe the only Turkish person in the room, right? And perfect. That's just you may be that Lego brick. So I think
depends on the situation.
Yeah,
And, how
yeah.
do you-
I think that's an important piece. So yeah, use your strengths, right? And it's so competitive. Just bright flashing light. This is me, so people can recognize who you are and they go, that you are the right person for me. So yeah, possibly a lot of the time it feels like a disadvantage, but at one time it'll be the total advantage, and you'll just you're going to slide through just because you're the only person with that background, with that skill set, with that experience. So yeah, identify you, right? And yes, ma'am. Oh, which one? Oh yeah, for international students for international students in the UK to start a career in tech with academic background and half year of tech experience in international country, what are the extra skills I need to consider to be hired? A bit like your question, is it? That wasn't yours, was it? So yeah, we've kind of covered this. I think it's probably to emphasize and highlight your international background that people who've lived and been brought up and educated in the UK won't have. Really think about how you're going to be different to those, and perhaps look at organizations that are branching out into those countries. So, you just look at their website and say, they've just opened an office in Istanbul. That's handy. So you could be the bridge. That's certainly been the case for us. Like I said, we've hired numerous people over the years because of their cultural background or international experience or even language. It's very important when you're entering a new market. So hopefully that helps. That's all right. What else we got?
I kind of on that whole sort of note, well, less the international student note, but on the, I guess, in relation to sort of the question. So you're obviously, you're charismatic, you've worked with clients and stuff like that. You're obviously well articulated and everything. Let's say you didn't have the background in tech, but you decided, yes, I would like to get that. I guess, what would you do in that situation to prove those skills with the job market as tough as it is?
I think it is really tough. And when I was your age, I was terribly shy, and I wouldn't have sat here comfortably had a conversation. I wouldn't have sat up there. So these things you do learn, and you kind of learn by doing. You have to leap yourself into it. So how would I demonstrate? How would I demonstrate my technical skills, particularly?
Well, I mean, I guess answering the question. So with all of the knowledge that you have, minus say the hard skills. So you were applying for a junior job. What would you do to show that you've got those soft skills and that willingness to learn those hard skills?
Yeah. I'll probably come back to that same thing. Is so how's someone going to discover my soft skills? It's being out to network. I already know you more than I'm going to know people that I'm getting CVs from. How do I connect that CV to you is another question. It's that box of chocolates thing. It's how do I meet you? Actually, the soft skills bit. How do I get to know you? How do you shortcut that painful process of online CVs, all that? How can you shortcut that? In a city like Brighton, it's probably easier. We're very well connected. There's lots of networks in Brighton. So even if you don't feel, oh, I'm going to go to a meet up and meet people, the fact you're here, huge step. Keep doing that, I'd say. Keep doing that. I was saying to the other table, kind of be famous in your network as well. So people say, I'm looking for someone with these skills. Oh, you should talk to Julia. She's amazing at those things. Think about perhaps being famous within your own network and then using that network to be connected to the business. So I think that interpersonal thing is probably your shortcut to pass the CV lottery. To some degree, it is a bit of a lottery, isn't it? How do you find the right person in 200 pieces of paper that say the same thing? It's challenging.
What would you say is like a common misconception in why people often find themselves at like a fork in the road in looking for a job and getting stumped almost? What would you say is like a big misconception on what sort of makes you end up there and how to avoid that kind of situation?
A fork in the road about having a choice and not knowing which choice to make? Or
Yeah.
Are you in that situation?
No, I'm just curious.
All
I'm
right.
purely curious.
Use your gut. Always goes with it. A coach I had a few years back taught me a little trick. He said, toss a coin. But toss a coin and say heads, yes, tails, no. That's if it's heads, yes, and tails, no. Toss a coin. Don't make that decide, but where it lands,
how
you'll
feel.
know. You'll go, or that reaction, that moment where you go, that was right. Tells you how you feel. Doesn't mean it's right, but it does help you have that conversation with yourself about, oh yeah. Or if it comes up wrong, you go, it helps you just in that instant have that conversation with yourself about the fork in the road. Should I go left or should I go right? Okay, I think I should go left. Go left.
And do you think it's worth taking risks?
Yeah, always. Always. So when I interview people and we're kind of shortlisting us, and my advice is make original mistakes. A good friend of mine a long time ago said, make original mistakes. What that means is make a mistake you've not made before every day. Every day. That means you're learning, means you're trying. Mistakes are good. Try not to make same mistake twice. Please don't make it 3 times. That's, when you're not paying attention, right? We used to have a thing in a company I had.
Right, we've got one minute. Please wrap up your conversations, and then we're going to swap round for the last time. 1 minute.
And must take risks, right? It's otherwise you won't stand out. Otherwise you won't innovate. You ain't all these things.
Sorry, another quick question. Knowing the position that you're in at the moment, so would you say that going and doing an apprenticeship will put you in a better position than going to uni? So would it does it give you that extra boost instead of someone going to uni and not having any experience?
Flip a coin. I don't know. I've enjoyed my career. If I had the chance to go to uni, I probably would have done. If I'd have known what uni was at the time, I probably would have done uni. It would have been my choice. But they can both work, and I think what apprenticeships do, and I'm a fan of them, is they do give you that work. It's your first job. It's the second job that matters. The university is kind of your first job.
Right. Sorry. Going to interrupt your conversations again. Czarina, do you want to go to that one? Right. Can my panelists please stand up? Martin, sorry. Right. This is the last time we're moving around. Jack, need you. Right. Can everyone move around one table again to the table they haven't been to? So Jack and Paul, you're on this one. Sara, you're on this one. Czarina's going to go back over there.
One, take. I've just finished a boot camp. So that's the most common career path. And like even people who finish computer science degrees are coming and doing boot camps and stuff like that to try and get.
All right, I got a quick question for you. So think about traveling abroad, like and living abroad. Sorry, would the yeah. Do you, all right, I got a quick question for you. So someone doing an apprenticeship and someone going to university. If I traveled abroad, what would sorry, I don't know how to word this properly, but what would be more standing out? If you, I would believe that going to university would be a better opportunity if you were to travel abroad later on. What do you think about this?
So do you mean when you got abroad and you were trying to get a job?
Here, or I finished an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Would it like what would be better for me if I wanted to travel abroad in the future or go to live abroad in the future?
Oh, yeah,
I think
that's
a
tricky.
university degree would be better because you've actually got a certificate to show.
Yeah, possibly, but you know, yeah. Again, it's about how it shaped you and how you come out the other side. I think, like, yeah. I mean, that's a bit tricky for me because I'm working in a company that's remote, so you're kind of like allowed to work wherever you like in the world. so I would say, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm not so sure that it's as clear cut as that, but yeah, definitely having that bit of paper or whatever is quite useful. Like I know for a fact that Google looks for it if you haven't got a degree, like, you know, then, you know, yeah. You're like, well, you're not out the door, but it's like not as a priority, like, you know.
So you said you work remotely, like your whole team does. So when you come to hiring someone, like obviously the first impressions and everything, that's kind of it's misted a bit, you know. It's not like you don't get the proper representation of how that person is. What
how'd you get around that?
Yeah, how'd you get around that?
Yeah. Well, that like the recruitment process is quite involved. It's a bit weird. Like, so there's like an interview process that's done on Slack. Like, it's like
as in over text.
Over text. Yeah. That's after like sort of initial screening, like where you put in your application with your CV or whatever. Like, yeah, so you get invited to an interview. There would be like a few technical questions, I suppose, but that's a lot more just to sort of have a conversation with the person, like
over
Steve.
text.
Yeah, over text. Like, and it's because the majority of the time that's how we're communicating, like over text, like either blog posts or, you know, Slack or whatever. Like, you know, so it's a good way of sort of working out whether somebody is comfortable doing that. Like, yeah, it's like and then there's a code test, which usually involves like some shoddy bit of code that you've got to make better, fix the bugs, make it secure, that kind of thing. Like, if you get through that, then we do a trial project, which is basically you end up getting employed part-time, like for a few weeks, like, so, and you'll have a kind of a mentor, a trial buddy with you, like, so to ask questions and all this sort of thing, and you work on a project, like, so yeah, and kind of like the longer that goes on for, the more chance it is that you're going to get a job at the end of it, like, you know, because at some point people will review it and say, yeah, okay, you're good, but you're not the right fit or whatever, like, you know. So to answer your question, it's about, yeah, we work with them as we would work with them day to day, like were they to be employed. So like that's how you kind of get to know people a lot better, like, yeah, so it's not perfect, like, you know,
so because obviously like our question is like, how do I present myself confidently to employers? How do you be confident over Slack or whatever, you know? It's
that is difficult, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I think it's about being curious, probably. Like, I'd say, like whoever said about passion earlier, like, you know, it's about, like, quite a lot of the time I do the interviews And the most important question was the one at the end when I said, "Have you got any questions for me?" Like, and if somebody said no, like, then yeah, to be honest, yeah, they probably weren't getting through. Like, you know, it's like, because if they're not curious about anything, like, you know, they're interviewing, working at this kind of quite strange global remote company, they must have a question. Like, you know, it's like, so, you know, things like that, you kind of got to make yourself look, you know, well, it's preferably you actually are, like, you know, really passionate about it, and make sure that comes across in some way, like, you know, so yeah, being as curious as possible, I suppose. Like, you know, so.
Like 5 years ago, while I was student, I was also thinking about it a lot. Maybe this could be a useful question. Do you think straight out to school, getting interviews, and you had your first interview, would you like to hear the like background information other than the school or internship experience, like hobbies, what you like to do? Do you think does it make difference for the interviewer to learn about the students, fresh graduates, hobbies, and this kind of things, or it is considered as unprofessional? There's a like a controversial
No, I like
comments on
that
this
sort of
story.
stuff personally. Like, I think there's a really diverse group of people that work at Automattic, like, and a lot of the companies that I've worked for, but particularly Automattic because it's global. Like, you know, it's like, and when we do the bigger meetups, people are encouraged, like, to do a flash talk, like, on just anything, like, you know, it's like, and some of the stuff, like the hobbies and things that people do, and like some people just sing, like, you know, which is wild, like, you know, I'm just like, there's no way I'd stand up in front of hundreds of people and sing, like, you know, so yeah, hearing about passions like that, like, you know, it's like, and especially if it relates back, like, say you're kind of, I don't know, written some software to do some visualizations or something for your DJ
That
test,
somehow you
like,
can
you know, or
relate it
something
to
like
the
that,
job.
like, you know.
Right, we're going to have one more minute, and then I'm going to ask you just to do a little summary on your tables and feedback your key takeaways. You don't have to do it, mine. You can give it to Jack.
I think you should research, by the way, like, similar to what we were talking about, these are all related to each other in a way. But yeah, researching and tailoring your applications, I think, is really important. You should be researching the employers that you want to work for. Like, you know, this whole idea of like, how can I stand out to employers? It's like, no, you know, you should go and say, right, I want to do this. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know, work in AI or whatever, like, you know, and shortlist a load of employers that, you know, you want to work for, like, you know, OpenAI, like Google, like, you know, whatever, like, you know, it's like, and, you know, and then tailor whatever it is that you're doing to those employers, research those employers and go like, right, well, these are their values, these are the things that they're looking for, you know, go and talk to those people that are, you know, speaking at events or something like that, like, you know, it's like, and collar them afterwards and say like, you know, I really want to work for your company, like, you know, what can I do? You got any open, you know, it's sort of like, I've done all of this stuff, like, you know, it's like, because, you know, that is how you're going to stand out, like, because then somebody's going to be like, whoa, like, you know, because then you're not just a CV, like, you know, it's like that kind of, it's just a bit of paper, like, you know, so, you know. Yeah.
Don't like truly represents you. They are not transferring your story to the people that you actually work with.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of answer your question. You know, you probably would have been chatting to them about hobbies and things like that to create that bond, like, you know, and then, you know, actually that may be before you end up getting an interview, and then when you've got an interview, that's, you know, yeah, that's further down the line, isn't it?
So I've got last quick question, last 10 seconds. What is the biggest step you've taken in your career that's actually made you happy with your position? Sorry, we've only got 10 seconds.
Right. Cam? Yep. Right. Now, if you can all wrap up your conversations, because what I'm going to do is ask you to feed back to me. Yeah, take a picture. Make sure you take pictures of your notes. Remember, this is your little action. This is your personal action plan. And we'll take pictures of them as well, and we'll post them out. Right, so I'm going to come around each table. What I'd like is just a little bit of feedback, just what your key takeaways are from the table. It doesn't have to be one of my panelists. It can be anyone on the table. Who wants to speak? Can I have just what are your key takeaways from
I think like the most takeaway that I can say, most of the companies, they're looking for the in soft skills. They're looking at LinkedIn, and like also they're always looking at communication. This is like a skill factor, which is for some technical people, they would look at the communication type. Where always they always like focus more on the technical parts. I have this language, I have this language, I have this language, I know this framework, but they do not how to explain it in a simple way to non-technical people. This is like the most takeaway that I took, and also like the connection and volunteering was also like a good advice that I've taken right now. And also like there was this one feedback that I really liked was also like posting videos on explaining my my project that I've worked on, which shows like both of my skills, my technical and my communication skills. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Really good. Yeah, the amount of times that Pete and I, sorry, Pete runs the Techmaker Academy with me, the boot camp, and knows everything about coding. And the amount of times that we've talked about soft skills and the amount of employers that I've spoken to that have said, it's not the technical skills that I'm recruiting, it's the ability to communicate, work in teams, solve problems, think creatively, etc. That's just such a key message for me. So thank you for bringing that up. Right, we'll go to this table. Who wants to speak from this table?
I did the writing. I thought somebody else was going to. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. We had some really good advice. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. I think being confident about putting what you have done onto GitHub, even though it's not directly maybe relevant to what you're applying for, to show that you actually have done something and you've got something to talk about, was something we talked about. If you've been working on a project where you're not legally allowed to send the link to the website, or you've got to anonymize it, maybe take screenshots and make it into a video. Where's Czarina? She was telling us about that. That was an awesome piece of advice. Tag people you've met into your posts from meetups that will get reposted onto their followers and spread your words. Soft skills, critical thinking, communication skills, be honest about what you do know and what you don't know. So we do. Show you've been proactive on GitHub, look at other projects, open source projects, make comments on them, get yourself known as a name. Yeah, somebody said use consistent usernames across all of your sites, your LinkedIn and your GitHub and all that sort of stuff. And presenting yourself. Who was it, Czarina again, maybe? Have an elevator pitch about what you're going to say about yourself when you meet people for the first time.
Thank you. So more about getting out there, presenting yourself. I heard a lot of conversations, particularly conversations with Jack here about what stands out on GitHub is not what you post, it's how you communicate with everyone else on it. And that's what people are looking for. And that's a really, really good bit of advice. I'm going to go around to this table.
I think the most important thing that I picked up from tonight is put very simply in passion, and how passion can take you a lot further than just wanting a bag of cash. I think it's the easiest way to put it. I think everyone that we've spoken to has said passion at least 3 times in 3 different contexts, and it really makes the difference. Thank you. It really makes a difference to be passionate and not just look for a job, but genuinely enjoy what you do and the path you're on, and enjoy every step, the start to the very end. If you enjoy every step, you're just going to have a whale of a time the entire time, And I think that is probably one of the most important things that I picked up from tonight.
Have you heard the phrase, if you want to change the world, throw a better party? That's the same thing. Enjoy yourself and enjoy your work. That's actually brilliant advice. Right, one more table. These guys over here. Hold on.
Oh, here we go. I'll keep it short and sweet. The sort of the top line I get is sort of being aware of your strengths, both technically and your soft skills, and just sort of being able to lean in them to the best of your ability. Yeah, short and sweet.
Thank you, everyone. Would any of my panelists got any final thoughts at all on things that you've heard? Key takeaway?
Everybody needs to stop thinking that contributions to GitHub is just code. It really isn't. Like, please step away. Like, remember the green blocks on your GitHub profile, 4 things make that up. One of them is code. Comments, reviews, discussions. Get involved in the other 3. They're really easy to do and they show up massively. So don't just think it's all code.
Anyone else? Final thoughts? Go on, mine.
Yeah, just well done to all of you for coming out and working with us and sharing your thoughts and asking questions. This makes you stand out. This makes you stand out. Keep doing it.
Hold on, I've got another comment.
I have one last thought, like to the panelists, is like I feel sometimes that judging or not judging or like picking up people sometimes only from the social media. I wouldn't say it's unfair, but sometimes it could be sometimes misleading because like I could take myself as an example that I could be good like in real life and I can communicate what are my thoughts are and how I can explain everything. But my social media, for example, like any social media that I have, even like Instagram or Snapchat, I don't post on them like that much. So how would you advise to try to improve this area in myself?
I've got a thought on that. Speaking on behalf of businesses which I run, I think it's not looking for you to be fake and say loads of stuff that's not true and kind of like present a world that's not real and everything's shiny and brilliant. It's to show what your interests are and to show that you have an active participation in something outside of, say, just going to college or just working. And there's nothing worse than a LinkedIn profile with no picture and no posts. I've got to say, when I'm like recruiting, if I look for someone, I'm like, I've got no idea who this person is. And you just have a sort of blank feel. And that's just unfortunately the truth of the matter. So I don't try and hype yourself up. I think that's what you're saying you want to avoid doing, is saying something that's not true. But I would say just be active, a participator, comment on people's posts, join groups, look at what other people are posting, post things yourself that you're interested in. So don't try and put a shine on it, but just present things that you're genuinely interested in. Don't know if anyone else wants to. I know we're running out of time. Mika, do you want to go on? And then we're going to wrap up.
So from someone who is new to tech, what I did was I wasn't quite active on LinkedIn, but you just have to start somewhere. And once you start, it accumulates. And the more you accumulate, the more you'll be impressed with what you've done. And just go out there and see what's out there. Go to career fairs, see what you can find. It's actually through career fairs I found Silicon Brighton. Then from Silicon Brighton, I found Tech Jumpstart. And there's another one, I go to One Health Tech and Product Unleashed. So it just goes on and on. So you just have to start.
Thank you. Right, it's 8 o'clock. So thank you, everyone, from me for being brilliant participants. There was some really, really good conversations around the table. Make sure to take pictures of what you've written. Make sure to LinkedIn each other and talk to the guys here and all the panelists. I'm sure they'll be happy to link with you. This is the whole point of tonight. So I know people probably have to get off, but make sure to chat to each other. So thank you, everyone. I should know the date of the next Tech Jumpstart, but I don't. It's in 2 months' time. I will post out on the group. So please all come back next time. I'd love to see you there. Give yourself a round of applause for being great tonight. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Can I just say thanks to Steve and Silicon Brighton for hosting and to Cameron for doing the AV. Sorry, a bit late on that one. Woo!